Tonight on Kent Stater TV, an on-campus exhibit to bring attention to Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
It may seem simple, but the phrase "start by believing" can heal sexual assault victims. We have more on how this phrase is now a campaign for Summit County.
The Kent Surplus Store has a new location available for students to get discounted items the university wants to get rid of.
We have updates on the U.S. economy after the Trump administration announced a pause on tariffs for 90 days. All this and more as KSTV News at 6 starts right now.
This is Kent Stater TV.
Good evening, Portage County. I'm Hayden Cruz.
And I'm Sydney Brown. Thank you for joining us. We start with our coverage on campus.
That's right, Sydney. Spreading awareness about Sexual Assault Awareness Month, a display at the Women's Center is back this April.
KSTV's Sophia Elena is here to tell us more about how you can visit.
That's right, guys. The Center for Sexual and Relationship Violence Support Service is hosting its annual What Were You Wearing exhibit, sharing personal experience of survivors of sexual violence to break down victim-blaming habits. Throughout the week, the Williamson House and the Center for Visual Arts transformed into a space of reflection and education. Outfits ranging from casual jeans and t-shirts to work uniforms and children's clothes were carefully displayed. Each outfit was paired with a survivor's story of personal accounts of sexual assault and violence.
It impacts people's understanding because the outfits that are displayed, like you can see the difference in whether it was a night out or whether it was a night in, and just kind of like it can happen anywhere, anytime to anybody. It's just really impactful to have something tangible.
First brought to campus in 2022, the exhibition is modeled after a national project that began at University of Arizona. With a powerful message, the event aims to challenge harmful myths and confronting victim blaming. Specifically, the idea that clothing can invite or justify sexual assault.
I think it's very important to showcase stories and to let our community know that power-based personal violence will not be tolerated on Kent State's campus or in the Kent State community. Just knowing what people go through, just seeing how resilient people can be and how they overcome. I think that's like the most powerful thing.
The outfits featured in the exhibit are recreations, each inspired by a real survival story from the Kent community. Survivors were invited to share their experience along with what they were wearing at the time of the assault. The display remains open throughout tomorrow until 6 p.m. for both locations. The What Were You Wearing exhibit encourages anyone to stop by, reflect, and learn more about how to support survivors and prevent new victims. For KSTV, I'm Sophia Elena.
Thank you, Sophia. Staying and creating awareness for National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, these advocacy initiatives seem to be going beyond Portage County.
Our reporter Nikki Gajeski spoke to officials in Summit County to learn more about what happens in the county.
Evening, Hayden and Sydney. This past Wednesday, the county celebrated a proclamation to honor April 2nd as National Start by Believing Day. But believing can mean the world to survivors.
If you are believed, then you have at least an ally. You have someone that's listening, and because so many things are going through your head and it's threatening to turn into shame and you're scared.
Carla was sexually abused twice, but it took years before she could share her story because no one believed her. April is National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which tries to educate people about the experiences of victims like Carla. This year, Summit County is trying to change the narrative for survivors and victims through their annual campaign, Start by Believing.
But I think Carla's story was a real flashpoint that just believing and validating sometimes is enough for someone to begin that healing process.
The Start by Believing campaign was started in 2019.
Our goal is absolutely to make people feel more comfortable coming forward if they've ever been a victim of a crime. We focus on the sexual assault portion. That's kind of where Start by Believing came from. But I will tell you, as a prosecutor, we want everyone to feel comfortable coming forward to disclose they've been a victim of a crime, no matter what it is.
In 2024, the prosecutor's office served 155 survivors. The Cleveland Clinic, their Akron General Hospital, treated 243 sexual assaults in the same year. Nationally, the numbers are also high.
Then maybe people may realize that it's affecting a lot more people. It's 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men.
There's hope these numbers can change through public support. But for Carla and others, the first step comes with being believed.
If a victim does confide, does say that they've been sexually abused, you say, like, there are really only three options. The only thing that should come out of your mouth is, I believe you, I'm sorry that happened to you, and it was not your fault.
Those interested in Start By Believing its efforts can visit startbybelieving.org. Carla also recommends students check out IHaveTheRightTo.org. Nikki Gajeski, KSTV.
All right, thank you, Nikki. Portage County Sheriff Bruce Zakowski signed an agreement with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The agreement, signed last month, will allow the office to act as a task force to enforce federal immigration law. Under the agreement, the Portage County Sheriff's deputies are authorized to interrogate, arrest without a warrant, and hold in custody any person suspected of being in the country unlawfully. Zakowski's office did not readily reply to a request for comment.
Your first forecast on Kent Stater TV.
Hi, I'm weather anchor Ryan Mead. Today we saw some cloudy skies and some cooler temperatures. Let's see what we can expect for the rest of the night and into the day. So today we saw, as I said, these cloudy skies and a little bit of some rain what happened earlier in the morning. But right now it's 45 degrees. It's cloudy. There's a lower chance of some rain throughout the night, which we saw some also earlier. But as we can expect to see some of the hourly forecast right now, we'll be seeing, as I said before, this cloudy skies. There's a little bit of some chance for some rain. As we go towards midnight, it's going to be a lot colder. And as I said before, there's going to be a little bit of some rain maybe, but for the most part, just these cloudy skies as we've been seeing all day. And as we go into tomorrow, it'll be a little bit more foggy in the morning, but it's not going to be too much fog. It's going to clear out by lunchtime, and it'll be a lot more cloudy in the afternoon as we saw for today. And there's actually a chance for some snow in the later night, which is a little bit concerning since, as we know, it's April. And but it's not going to be that much snow, maybe a dusting. But so the forecast looks to be more the same for the rest of the night, but be careful about the fog tomorrow morning. Now back to Hayden and Sydney.
Thank you, Ryan. Students are now one step closer to getting discounted items on campus. The Kent Surplus store has moved locations to the former Business Administration building. The store is open on Wednesdays from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. and takes any items the university is looking to get rid of and sells them at a discounted rate. Anything from iMacs to bed frames, mini fridges, and rain barrels are for sale.
Kent State and the City of Kent are working to get funding for a new 100-foot ladder truck for the Kent Fire Department. Kent State currently plans on paying 25% of the estimated $2 million cost. In March, city leaders announced the current ladder truck is 31 years old and needs many costly repairs to keep it operational and on the road. If the truck exceeds $2 million, the city wants to keep Kent State's 25% responsibility.
A new state law in Ohio went into effect today, eliminating some debt-related licensing suspensions. Several offenses can cause a suspended license, even if it is not driving related, including ditching a court hearing and missing child support payments. Under House Bill 29, license suspensions for not paying court fines and fees will be eliminated, and financial relief is expected with changes to the law.
Inflation is seemingly slowing down under the Trump administration. New reports from economists out of Washington.
The Department of Education will briefly pause a policy targeting school programs that consider race, and the Trump administration plans to not step in.
Kids will spend 15 minutes watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
Amen. Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
Tomorrow's news leaders.
Today's top stories.
From an award-winning student newsroom.
This is Kent Stater TV.
Your community.
Your stories.
Now with some breaking news. In New Jersey, 6 people are dead after a helicopter crashed into the Hudson River near Manhattan. The helicopter went down at 3:30 this afternoon and NYPD responded. 5 passengers, including a mix of children and adults, were on the helicopter. The Federal Aviation Administration and NTSB are investigating the cause of the crash. This is a developing story. Stick with KSTV for the latest updates.
2 American airline jets had a minor collision on the ground at Ronald Reagan Washington Airport this afternoon. The Federal Aviation Administration said the wingtip of one aircraft struck another on the taxiway. At least 2 members of Congress were aboard one of the jets. The airport said in a statement there was no impact on flight operations and both aircrafts returned to their gates with no injuries reported. Now with updates on the U.S. economy, new data shows U.S. inflation slowed sharply in March, cooling to a 6-month low. But the positive price news may be short-lived.
With economists worrying continued fallout from the Trump administration's tariff policies could send the cost of goods soaring. Michael Yoshida reports from Washington.
Thursday's Consumer Price Index data showed U.S. inflation cooled to an annual rate of 2.4% in March. Prices fell 0.1% from February, the first time prices have fallen monthly since May 2020. Normally, this trend would stoke optimism. But economists warn this latest data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics doesn't take into account how tariffs could impact consumer goods prices going forward.
We are completely blind looking at the market. Today's CPI numbers, for example, really tell us nothing.
President Donald Trump's aggressive trade moves have already upended global markets and could make imports and likely end products for consumers markedly more expensive. Wednesday, the president announced a 90-day pause on all of his recently announced so-called reciprocal tariffs, except for those on China, which he raised again.
Everybody wants to come and make a deal, and we're working with a lot of different countries, and it's all going to work out very well.
Still, the escalating trade conflict with China, along with fresh pain from tariffs imposed on key goods, steel, aluminum, and cars, stressing markets, consumers, and businesses alike.
What would have cost me maybe $30,000 with a reasonable tariff now is going to cost me almost $200,000.
There is just not a pathway for everyone to pivot and change and magically create this manufacturing that doesn't exist today.
In Washington, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
Now in D.C., the House approved a bill that would allow for Congress to carry out President Donald Trump's agenda. Speaker Mike Johnson shared his thoughts on the new budget bill after a week of trying.
We're talking about getting the American economy going again by reducing regulations. We're talking about restoring peace through strength and making sure we have the measures in place to properly fund those priorities. That will allow us now to move forward, to have our committees actually drafting the one big beautiful bill. There's a lot of work ahead of us, and we're really excited about that.
The new budget bill is a move that ultimately allows Republicans to avert a Democratic filibuster over spending. The approval comes after a hectic week at the House, where Speaker Johnson was forced to call it off just hours earlier Wednesday after nearly 20 Republicans demanded a guarantee of steep spending cuts. However, this morning, Speaker Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune announced an informal agreement which allowed the bill to pass.
keeping you informed and ahead of the storm. This is your KSTV weather.
A Senate committee heard from experts this morning on getting rid of daylight savings time. At the hearing, the committee's chairman, Senator Ted Cruz, said that there's a consensus, but the debate continues between keeping the standard time or daylight saving time.
Cruz also said an alternative has been discussed to pick daylight savings time, but letting states opt out, according to a poll. In 2021, 63% of Americans say they would like to get rid of it. Now, with Brian, we have weather.
The past week, we've been seeing some colder temperatures, some heavy winds, and we even saw some snow. Now, let's look to what we can expect for this next week. Currently, right now, we have 54 degrees in Columbus. For the most part, it's around the same. In Cincinnati, it's actually a lot warmer, as we can see. And down there in Athens, it's also pretty warm. But as we go through a little bit closer, as you can see, it's about the same temperature here. About 40 degrees is about the average for our area. But as we go into the rest of this week, we can go to the extended forecast. We'll see that the temperature throughout most of the week is going to be about 45 degrees. It actually is going to get a lot warmer on Monday, but it's going to be a little bit more of rain in the afternoon. And this rain is going to continue on into Tuesday morning. As we go into the weekend, though, it's going to be about 50 degrees on Saturday, 58 on Sunday, but this is going to be a lot more windier. And as we go to Tuesday and Wednesday, it gets a lot more colder. So expect some colder temperatures this week and some rain on Monday and Tuesday. Now let's go back to Hayden and Sydney for the rest of your Thursday newscast.
All right, thank you, Ryan. The Department of Education has agreed to briefly pause a policy targeting school programs that consider race. For the next 2 weeks, the Trump administration says it will not bring any enforcement actions or investigations. In February, the Education Department sent a letter to schools threatening to withhold federal fundings if schools engaged in diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, or if race played a role in other aspects of student life.
The Trump administration was ordered by a federal judge to resume some refugee processing and restore funding to the resettlement agencies. The International Refugee Assistance Project sued the Trump administration. They successfully argued the government's actions violate statutory obligations approved before Donald Trump took office. Immigration rights advocates accuse the administration of defying obligations and leaving vulnerable families in limbo. Hitting the green this weekend in Augusta, the Masters tournament is back. What else do we have in sports, Anthony?
Well, Sydney, the home opening series against the White Sox has been nothing short of interesting. Find out how the Guardians pulled out with a win in Game 2.
Why not crank it? It doesn't hurt anyone else. But listening too long and too loud can actually damage your hearing.
Now, 1 in 5 people 12 and older have some kind of hearing loss. So let's boogie and get those ears checked.
How's your hair? Is it pretty?
Daddy.
It's pretty.
Maybe off it.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money.
Hey, I'm worried about your parents. We need to show them how to spot phishing emails.
Agreed, the scammers are out of control.
Plus, help them add multi-factor authentication.
Yes, we use MFA at work and it's great. Software update? Done. Time to celebrate.
For more information on how to keep yourself and those you care about safe online, go to cisa.gov/secure-our-world.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food.
An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
This is your Kent Stater TV Sports Report.
A tradition unlike any other, the Masters Golf Tournament teed off today in Augusta, Georgia with the Par 3 contest. The first official round will start tomorrow and will wrap up on Sunday, where the champion will be outfitted with a green jacket. Defending champion Scottie Scheffler will be back on the course, but some have eyes on Rory McIlroy, who will also be there, fresh off a win at the Players' Championship last month. Around 40,000 spectators, or as the Masters calls them, patrons, visit Augusta with lottery-style ticketing. Now, my family's always super excited about this, and I know my grandma wants to shout out Ricky Fowler as well.
Very nice. very exciting. Golf.
But Anthony, we were also talking about this. Don't you kind of have your eye on him?
Yeah, I think Rory McIlroy could have a better chance, though. But personally, I'm cheering for Bryson DeChambeau. But with March Madness coming to a close and the NBA playoffs approaching, that leaves us with a lot of baseball news. So that's exactly where we are going to start tonight. As the Kent State baseball team, they traveled out to Columbus yesterday to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Flashes went into this one red hot on an 11-game win streak, and I was personally very excited about this one, and Kent State did not disappoint as they took down the Buckeyes by a final score of 8-3. That makes their win streak 12, and the Flashes will stay on the road for a weekend series against Miami, Ohio in Oxford. Now we're going to bring things back to Cleveland. The Cleveland Guardians took on the Chicago White Sox in Game 2 after their walk-off walk in Game 1. This game did not disappoint. There was a lot more offense. Chicago was actually the first team on the board with that base hit single, which drove in 1 RBI. Now the Guardians will get to work. John Kenzie Noel, big Christmas. He's going to find the gap in between those middle infielders, and he's going to bring in Stephen Kwan. That is going to tie the game up for the Guardians with Jose Ramirez on third. Keep an eye on him, folks, because he's going to be moving with this pass ball. The catcher, he can't really find it quick enough, and Jose, he gets in there. And in case you didn't agree with the umpire, here's the proof, folks. Jose was safe at home. The Guardians now lead. Now, Carlos Santana, we've seen him on the Guardians so many times, and he's welcome back. Slam Tana, roots of his 2019 home run derby contest. He hits his second home run of the season. Now with the game on the line, the Guardians would end up letting a hit, but the runner pulled his hamstring. He quit running, and he's tagged out before he can get home. The Guardians win that one 3-1. Now, if Game 2 wasn't exciting enough for you, then you're in luck because the third game of the series just ended a few hours ago. The Guardians took home a commanding lead very early on in this game, and that's mostly because of the contributions of outfielder Stephen Kwan, who recorded a home run, 4 RBIs on just 4 hits. Gavin Williams also pitched for the Guardians, and he picked up the win in this contest. The Guardians completed the sweep over the White Sox in their home opening series. And now sticking with Cleveland, but now we're going to go over to the hardwood. The Cavaliers have officially locked up the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference with their victory against the Bulls on Tuesday. Tonight the Cavs are on the road and they will take on Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers. Now some notable inactives for the Cavs tonight are Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Max Strus. But I wouldn't panic. Most of them are just sitting for rest, rather because they're hurt. And given that the Cavs don't have much to play for right now, I would anticipate that the starters will rest a couple games before the playoffs start. For KSTV, I'm Anthony Leonardi.
Well, why'd you come into the airport looking like that? A petition is gaining traction to rename the Tennessee airport in favor of Dolly Parton.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
the black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
A petition to rename Nashville International Airport after the Queen of Country Music is growing. So far, more than 50,000 people have signed in favor of renaming it after Dolly Parton. The idea started after state lawmakers introduced a bill to rename the airport after President Donald Trump. But those who support the petition say it's only fitting for the airport to carry the name of a remarkable woman who represents the best of Tennessee. Couldn't agree more.
A leap for mankind. 6 female footprints are making history on the upcoming Blue Origin flight. The space flight, launching on Monday from Texas, will have CBS journalist Gayle King, music artist Katy Perry, Bezos' fiance Lauren Sanchez, film producer Carrie Ann Flynn, former NASA rocket scientist Aisha Bowe, and bioastronautics research scientist Amanda Wynn. The flight will not have a pilot and will be weightless experience to witness views of Earth through the windows, but the trip will only be 11 minutes.
Very interesting.
Yeah, lots of female empowerment tonight, though.
Yeah,
Very
I
fun.
think it'll be interesting to see Gayle King up there.
I know, my
with
girl.
Katy Perry. Yeah. Definitely an interesting mix there.
Absolutely. Kent Stater TV will be back tomorrow for more stories like this.
But we're always online at kentstater.com.
I'm Sydney Brown.
And I'm Hayden Cruz. Have a great night, Portage County.
Can you concern with me? Imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. 'Cause every kid across the nation deserves a book to read, and we can make it happen right now. No, I don't know what you've been told, but kids with books learn so much more. So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child. So let's join hands, book people unite, unearth hidden passion. Come on, we'll have a good time. Planting seeds of inspiration to motivate some magic. To change the writing on the wall, writing on the wall, and make a difference. One book can inspire a child. One book can be the first thing that helps to change a life. People unite.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
Hey, did you know that 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Go to theshelterpetproject.org and search your local shelters and rescues. Go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
First, they said cigarettes were safe. We know how that turned out. Now, they say they didn't market e-cigarettes to teens. Fact, more than 1 in 4 high school students are vaping, and 80% say their first e-cigarette was flavored. Vaping is harmful to developing brains. The reason we think vaping is safe? Marketing. Same lies, different day. Tell Big Vape to quit lying.
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. Made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.